That's life. That's what people say. You can be flying high in April, shot down in May. I ain't gonna let it get me down, as long as this big old world keeps us spinning round. Don't you know that's life? Hey baby, yeah, that's what people say. They be flying high in April, shot down in May. I ain't gonna let it get me down, as long as this big old world keeps us spinning round. I've been a puppet, a pirate, a pauper, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and around. I learned one thing each time I find myself falling flat on my face. I just pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. Hey baby, funny how it may seem. I've seen people get their kicks stomping on a dream. I ain't gonna let it get me down, as long as this big old world keeps us spinning round. Hey, don't you know that's life, baby? As long as this big old world keeps us spinning round. Yeah, baby, I ain't gonna let it get me down.
Right now in Portland, it's 47 degrees Fahrenheit with partly sunny skies. Today's forecast has showers, with a high of 53 degrees and a low of 35 degrees.
Big old world keeps us spinning round. I ain't gonna let it get me down. Don't let it get you down. I've been a puppet, a pirate, a pauper, a poet, a pawn, and a king.
Well, now it worked. Hi, everybody. It's me. I'm Jimmy Kimmel, and you've won a jet ski. No, no, you've won a jet ski. This is Jason Allen.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, guys,
guess
I know.
what? It's
But
Friday.
you know what? It's close.
Yeah?
It was close.
It was close.
We did okay-ish. There's a couple still technical follow-ups with the new, brand new system, and that's what's going on here. That's why we're a little late, again, as always.
Yeah, but
Still working out the technical details.
You're meaning to do that. You're keeping people on their toes.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just deliver it farm fresh right to their table, I mean, they're just going to take everything for granted. So now, I mean...
I'll tell you what, I'd rather just it run smoothly and call it a day. Yeah, exactly.
Sure. But
I mean, so the thing is that, yeah, we got this, I keep talking about it, but we got some new changes in the studio here.
Yes.
For the better, but it's all a little bit, different. Yeah. And everything was smooth.
Oh, yeah.
And then I forgot one thing. Well, that little thing there or that little thing. And so start and stop. Like, for example, I unmuted my mic and I didn't unmute my mic. So that's why I was sitting here doing the Al Jolson for you. Okay. Oh, no, but that was a talkie, though, right?
Yeah, or who is the famous mime?
Charlie Chaplin? I don't know. I'd say Charlie Chaplin would be...
Charlie Chaplin?
Yeah. Of course,
Marcel?
I'm a Buster Keaton man myself.
Really?
Yeah, I am.
I'm kind of, I'm going to throw a curve. I'm kind of a Harold Lloyd guy.
Oh.
He's hanging from the clock and everything.
Mary Astor?
Yeah.
Welcome to the septuagenarian, what do you call it, version of Coffee with Curmudgeons.
Octogenarian, right?
Octogenarian, thank you.
Yes.
That will probably be someone like in their 90s or something. Which
I don't know the code word for that one.
Speaking of which.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was remembering, I've been taking notes
Oh.
for someday when we have a comedian guest.
Yes.
Which, by the way, we do have a special guest coming in later today.
Yes.
So
we do.
But, yeah, I've been taking comedy notes. One of them is... Do you ever have weird stuff that your grandma would say to you? See, okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, I had to go back into the vault,
Yeah.
It's Friday, and so I'm running a little...
The best one that I was telling somebody the other day was, they're getting paid to talk. That was like... So, it would be, you'd be like a little kid, and you're sitting there, and grandma, I took my Legos and I made Apollo 19 going to Mars, and I want to show you all this stuff. And Grandma would be there in front of the TV watching Lawrence Welk.
Yes.
And she would turn, and because, it's not like Grandma's like, I didn't, it wasn't like backhand, shut up, kid.
Yeah.
She's like, Little Doc, which is what she would call me.
L-I-apostrophe-L.
Yeah.
Little.
Interestingly enough, my dad was Papa Doc. I'm from Haiti.
Wow.
But anyway,
Papa Doc, Baby Doc.
We did that joke, last summer episode. Anyway.
Yeah.
Choose Little Doc.
Little L-I.
They're getting paid to talk. Not you. Which, the whole time, she would say that, I would stare into the TV, and the little kid going, they're getting paid to talk?
Wow.
Like, someone, I gotta get on this, man.
Right.
I gotta figure out how to get paid to talk.
Right. It was that epiphany moment, really?
So you'd be like talking to your uncle or whatever. It's like, by the way, I'm talking. You got a $5 in your wallet,
Right.
Okay.
And that's the best. Well, also, that's the best time to get fundage from them, too, because if they're busy with Lawrence Welk, I mean, they're probably only, hearing 30% of what you're saying at most. You can say, hey, I need a $5 because I'm going to run down the street and knock off the liquor store or whatever. And all they hear is, I want a $5. And so, okay, kid, go,
It makes
we got the bubble machine on.
Yeah, it makes no sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby and Sissy, not getting paid to talk, getting paid to dance.
Well,
people are just like, what in the hell are they talking about today?
We haven't had a show this week yet, so we stored up all this stuff. And it just comes
nuts.
Yeah. I'm sure some people right now are tuning in and like, wow, why are two guys with Tourette's on streaming? But it's not Tourette's. This is just, it's built up.
Well, you know, I always say if you're doing something, they'll come to you. You don't come to them. I mean, you know, sure, you do your thing for your audience, but you...
Mountain goes to Muhammad.
Well, all the best things are that way.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
Yeah.
The best people, they do their thing.
Right.
You know? Prince will come out and do Prince. I'm doing this now.
Right.
When Doves Cry. That's what's happening.
Wow.
He didn't call up 10 friends or call down to L.A. and do a poll and say, hey, what do you think I should do next?
Right.
No, I'm doing When Doves Cry.
He just got on stage and did his thing. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There it is.
That's your motivational speech for the day. Folks, if you're feeling down in the dumps, think Prince.
Well, maybe not. The poor... You know, it was like last year. We just had the anniversary of his death, man.
Yeah. That made me sad on the Super Bowl when, you know, Justin Timberlake put him up there.
Dirty sheet.
Right. Besides the dirty sheet, I saw the silhouette of him up there. I'm like, oh, man, he's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's a lot of things that happen.
A lot of things.
And one of them was the Academy Awards.
It was
on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was Jimmy Kimmel. Did you watch any of it?
I did.
And there was actually a jet ski.
There was.
Which it's okay, Jimmy Kimmel, whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I think my highlight for the Academy Awards was at the end where Dame, as he called her Dame, right?
Yeah.
England Dame Helen Mirren was riding on the jet ski at the end. I was like, lady can do no wrong.
No, anything with Helen Mirren in it is...
Oh, she was right up on the jet ski.
Gold.
So the jet ski thing in the Academy Awards was... how did it work? It was... when he started the show, he said, I will give you...
Yeah.
We will win an award, like a Bob Barker. What did they just win?
Right, yeah,
or whatever. And so they would give them a jet ski to the person who had the shortest acceptance speech.
Right.
And some guy won, like some camera guy or something. I don't know.
Doesn't it make you want to be nominated for the Academy Award so you can just show up and get a jet ski?
Even Gary Oldman, who won Best Actor.
Love Gary Oldman.
For Churchill.
Yeah.
I think he came out and the first thing he said, I'm not going to win the jet ski.
Right.
So they actually made reference to it. It was kind of cute.
Yeah, it's kind of like the running gag.
What did you think of the Academy Awards this year?
I thought it was tamed down. I think that Kimmel was conscious of last year. So he kind of toned it down a little bit, and I think it for the most part it was okay. Some parts were kind of long, they
always are, right?
But yeah, not bad though.
And the part that they always do is every Academy Award every year. Yeah, they do the memories, the people who
in
passed.
memoriam,
in memoriam, and it's always like who did they miss? Right. And they missed several people, but I can't remember.
Did they? Because at the time I was watching them, like I can't remember if they missed anybody. Because
there was a couple.
Yeah,
I think. But anyway.
Yeah.
And then they had some music people. I don't know how it all worked, but I don't know what the criteria is. I mean, I would think that it was film people.
Yeah.
But there's a few people, and it's always like, I hate to say this on Friday to be kind of morbid, but you watch that thing and you see like an actor or something and you're like, the dude from Breakfast Club, I can't believe it, he died, you know what I mean? You do one of those and you're just like,
you have those holy crud moments because you totally spaced it, and then like when Ernest Borgnine's face pops up, you're like, oh my gosh, Ernest, of course he was a few years ago, but and the running gag.
Mary Astor, really?
Right, Mary Pickford. Holy cow! And of course, the running gag every year is Abe Vigoda.
And then he actually did.
And then he
last year. Let's just laugh about people who died.
Yeah.
That's a nice start to the show, Jason.
We find humor wherever we can.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like. That Shape of Water got the best picture. The one movie I did see that was out of all those movies. And there's actually several that were nominated that I still want to see.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
In fact, we went over the nominations.
I want to see Dunkirk. I want to see Darkest Hour.
Right.
I
want to see the 3 Billboards. And I really want to see that one, too.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, Woody Harrelson, that's awesome. Francis McDormand, even better, you know?
And, no, I can't remember his name. He won Best Supporting Actor for that movie. Yeah. And he's the guy, I'm sorry, can't remember his name, the actor who played Chuck Barris in that movie about Chuck Barris, which is excellent.
Sam Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell, thank you very much. See,
there we go.
That's why you're here.
Thank you.
Sam Rockwell won for that too.
Well, that's why it isn't for my good luck.
I didn't say that.
Well,
a little spiky.
You don't have to. America was saying that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
spiky. America. Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah.
She did a big acceptance thing, and I don't know. I mean, it was. They're saying it's low ratings. Well, no. Okay, so the big news was the president of the United States of America tweeted, I want to say the next day, lowest ratings ever of the Academy Award. And I didn't prep it and pull it up. But it was a little after. You saw this, right? Jimmy Kimmel himself replied to the tweet saying, coming from the lowest rated president of all time.
Right. Never pick a fight with a comedian.
No.
Never, because they get paid to do that stuff, right? I mean, you're not going to get over on them. They're going to be... And it's fun... And speaking of comedians, Amanda's going to be coming on here pretty soon.
Yes.
And I love watching her work because nobody can get stuff by her. I mean, she is just razor sharp.
Although we'll try.
Oh, we'll try, yeah. We'll try, but somehow I get the feeling we'll be in the slow lane and she'll be in the fast lane, moving at her own speed. So, that's good. Yeah.
But you saw that, right?
I did.
There was a lot of political stuff. We predicted some things going down. Doc Carnac predicted something was going to go down.
And something did.
Right?
Yeah.
So...
And finally, the other shoe dropped, earlier in the week when Cohn stepped down. And you've been predicting that for the past, 10 days, 11, week and a half. And so...
Oh, that's been in the works for quite some time.
Right.
The other one was... God, there's just a lot of crazy stuff going on. Then we had the guy going crazy on Fox and CNN and everywhere.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name? No, not... I can't remember that.
Nunez?
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
He basically... This is the great thing.
Yeah?
When the special prosecutor calls you in, subpoenas, the first thing you should do is get drunk and go on CNN.
Right.
I mean...
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was just truly a beautiful thing.
Right, because that's how you handle everything in life, right? I mean,
the guy was everywhere. He was calling into... He was on every news program, and they're all scared. Yeah. And they're like, lions at the hunt. Like every CNN said, hey, you want to talk to us? Sure, I'll talk to you. I don't need to just have another drink here. And
how would you like to be this call screener at CNN? His number pops. Oh, God, he's calling you again. This is great. We're going to put him
on. Anderson, quick. Come on, baby.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was Aaron Burnett, was it? Aaron Burnett?
Yeah.
I believe. One of the anchors, who he was actually in studio. I think it was one of the first interviews. He was in studio, and then he's calling in later, dialing for dollars. Who actually at one point, I've seen the clip where she looks at him and she goes, "Now, I have to tell you, I can smell alcohol on your breath today. I didn't take anything.
I thought I had a mint.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, anything to do with politics nowadays, I just throw my... I throw my hands up because,
busy writing.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm busy writing.
That's okay.
We'll be back on Wednesday, though. Finally. I've got everything queued and ready to go.
Okay.
So, I know I say that every Friday, but...
I don't know how you can top a former campaign advisor going drunk on all the major networks.
Wait till we get Richard loaded, man.
Oh. That's a good point. What about me?
Right.
You'll get
right. Well, heck, let's all get loaded and let's see what happens, right?
I went to 2018 film school. Look, camera angles.
Right.
It's blurry.
Right.
It's going in and out of focus.
Oh, they're making the sound come in hot on purpose. I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know. Why does he keep headbutting the microphone?
So, never mind. We're just here.
Yeah, we're doing our thing.
Coffee. Yeah, so that happened. And then last night, I'm driving around.
Yeah.
And I usually put on the jazz.
Sure.
But sometimes I like to put on...
Sometimes when you're frisky.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's when I'm frisky. I like to put on the news talk radio. Because, I mean... Look, we're doing a show, Coffee with Curmudgeons. We talk about things that no one knows what we're talking about unless you're sitting in an assisted living,
right?
With a shawl on,
right?
Thing.
Shady Groves,
yep.
Giving you big props.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm still remembering the lady who called in.
Oh yeah.
When we played the show on cable, and she called in and said, "Actually, the assisted living is very nice. They shouldn't say bad things." I was like,
"Hey, do you,
lady?" They're getting paid to talk.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, so there was this, so I'm listening to the AM talk radio.
Yeah.
Like, I like to tune in. And, you know, the hard thing about radio is the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the jazz station, which is a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Over there at KMHD, Mount Hood Community College.
Yep.
Some great DJs there, by the way. In fact, at some point, maybe we can talk to a few of them. I have some of my favorites.
I, of course, went through their program out there. I know a lot of them quite well.
Yeah.
And, that would be fun.
And, you know, so they're nonprofit, so they don't have all the commercials and stuff, which is great. You can just, you know, it's like, we'll be back to Art Blakey's drum solo in a minute. Yeah. Now, here's, you know, a message from Preparation H. You know, you don't have that. No. But the AM talk radio, you know, some guy wants to paint your house. You know, some guy wants to change your tires.
Right.
Some guy wants to do your taxes.
Yep.
Some guy, I don't know, wants to fix your gutters.
Yeah.
Every 2 seconds. So this is hard to listen to radio.
Yeah.
But I was listening to the news radio, driving around, with my back full of recyclables and stuff, but we can get into that later. And they had a new breaking news about North Korea.
Yeah.
What the heck's going on with that?
Right.
So
they're gonna make a speech, you know, at some such time, and I'm like, when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, you know. And
well, yeah, I mean, the news was that the North Koreans, they had like some delegation or something.
Yeah.
Was this like at the White House? I want to say, or was some delegation somewhere.
Some representatives from the South met with representatives from the North. And the crux of it is North Korea said that they would meet. Kim Jong-un would meet with Trump if Trump wanted to. And Trump replied, sure, I'll meet you. Yeah. And then this morning Tillerson comes out and says, listen, we're just going to talk. We're not going to negotiate.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned, folks. We'll see what happens.
But I mean, this is like this big breakthrough.
Right.
Where Kim Jong-un has decided that he wants to meet with Trump and negotiate. I heard because they actually broke it in on news radio on the AM.
Yeah,
I actually heard the guy say, the Korean guy, that we wants to meet as soon as possible. We want to sit down and talk about, you know, I can't remember the whole thing about denuclearization, but he did say. These exercises, these military things that we basically float around and threaten,
every year
with the South Koreans and the Japanese. We get our destroyers and stuff. If you'd like to share any history of aircraft carriers and destroyers that I sent you late one night over the weekend, Jason, you can. It's like, why am I getting...
I'm fully prepped on...
Why am I getting the history of the Arleigh Burke destroyer from Doc Normal at 2:30 a.m.? Because Doc's crazy.
Hey, I find all that stuff endlessly fascinating. Like, ooh, the wasp.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. The Zumwalt class over budget. Interesting.
Sweet.
Stealth.
Yeah.
Yes. This is what Jason and I do in our off time. It's like
people think it's a nonstop party, right? People think we're out there at nightclubs till the wee hours of the morning. You know, we got the ladies on our arm and everything. No, we're at home talking about different aircraft carriers.
We could be teaching a class.
Right.
There's an interesting news actually we can talk about.
Okay.
Sprint that, but yeah, I heard him and he said in this thing, he said those military exercises that you're doing and all that, it's okay. You can keep doing them. It was very weird. I mean, he didn't say it quite that way, but he literally said that.
Oh.
Because that was the thing, you know. Yeah. They shoot the missiles and we float around out there.
Right.
With our guns pointed at them.
Yeah.
You know, so okay.
Yeah. Well,
so is this a big win for the president?
You know, I have an inside scoop at that.
Okay.
Word on the street, okay, is they have special interpreters that they're bringing in. Not just regular, like, State Department interpreters that come in. Rumor has it that Kim Jong-un is bringing in Dennis Rodman.
Oh, yeah.
And Trump is bringing in Stormy Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
I'm throwing it out there. That's what I heard. I can't confirm this, but that's what word on the street is.
I like it. I mean, who doesn't want this meeting to happen? I mean, come on. I don't care how liberal you are.
Yeah.
Do you just want to see like a Nixon and kind of sitting down, like Kim Jong Un and the president sitting down, you know, with their interpreters, like doing the meet and greet.
Right.
That's a thing of beauty.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
In one corner, Kim Jong Un is putting his own citizens to death, and then in the next corner, there's Trump with his pop-up book. You know, and they're trying to keep him on task.
I'm just sitting here, like, drinking coffee, thinking all the news items that came out. So that's a huge news item.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, the people who support the president would say, yeah, that's a good, threaten him. I mean, who knows? I saw a little blurb. I didn't read a lot about this thing because it broke yesterday. But I saw some blurb about there's some speculation that Kim Jong-un is having some health issues over there. I mean, he's not exactly the picture of health.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but he's only in his 30s. But
no, yeah, he's in his 30s, but he looks. What word am I looking for? Yeah,
dictator like.
Yeah, dictator like. He's one bloated dictator.
So I mean, that happened.
Yeah.
Then over in the UK, I've been following this.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at the news this morning. I did not have a chance. But this guy, he was part of. Well, he was a spy, a Russian spy. He was in Russian intelligence,
right?
And he was a counter spy. He was spying for MI6,
yes, in
the UK. And they caught him over there in Russia, and they put him in prison.
Yeah,
and then we did one of those spy trades.
Right,
like
Bridge of Spies.
Yes, we did a Bridge of Spies, several people, and we traded for him.
Yeah.
And so he's been living in the UK.
Right.
So he and his daughter are out eating Italian food or whatever.
Right.
And come deathly ill.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so this has all the earmarks of one of these, hits.
Oh, yeah.
You know, intelligence. I don't know how they're doing.
Famous for that poisoning.
Well, it's sad. It was him and his 30-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
30. Who was weird? I read the bio when they identified him, and she's worked for like Nike and Pepsi and a couple other countries over in Russia, and she has been living in Russia.
Yeah,
and then would come over and visit him in. I don't know. It was very weird, and we had that. Was it Litvinenko or the guy who died of the polonium?
Right.
He was the guy, and you know, this all kind of is one of those things. I mean, you can talk about the hacking or whatever, social media and bots, which are all over the place. But this is the one where it's like, oh, this is a
little more serious.
Yeah, this is where they're coming to get you.
Right. Yeah. I kind of had my ear tuned to that. And of course, you only get just a very sanitized version of what really is going on, but intriguing nonetheless.
Yeah, I haven't seen Yeah, I don't. They're both were in critical condition.
I thought one had passed away. I may be totally wrong on that. I have been known to flub up quite a few times.
Yeah, I don't see anything here, but I don't see anything here. So I mean, it's you know, they're saying it was a nerve gas, and there were a couple police officers that
Toxin,
they were called to help them, and they actually were critical as well. So it's bad news.
Right.
The interesting thing is the authorities in the UK were all saying that it's like, look, this isn't something that someone does in their kitchen somewhere. This is actually chemical warfare agents, and you have to handle this. You have to do this in a laboratory.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
This is bad news.
Lethal stuff. Yeah.
So we had that.
Yep.
Then back to Trump, we had Stormy Daniels.
The Mexico flub thing, too.
Oh,
did you hear about that?
No.
Kushner? Jerry Kushner sent down to Mexico.
Okay, so that's been...
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my favorite Charlie Daniels Band songs.
Oh, Devil went down to Mexico?
You know, Kushner went down to Mexico.
Yeah. He was looking to make a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he goes down there and he does something that's unheard of. Just unheard of. Doesn't even inform the U.S. ambassador to Mexico that he's doing it, and left her actually totally out of the loop.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess the whole State Department was kind of like in a tizzy over it, and it is kind of. I mean, when you think of Latin American experts, I know Kushner's at the top of your list, right? But I don't get it.
Well, that's been.
Let's not send in the ambassador. Let's send in Jerry.
That's been. Well, he did the Israel Middle East thing, and that's news too, because they're gonna Trump. Isn't Trump going over there to dedicate the Jerusalem embassy or something? I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the end times, folks, for your apocalyptic news.
Apocalypse. Yeah, it's like almost like a monster truck thing. Sunday.
And now for a musical interlude, 666, the number of the beast. Oh my gosh! No, there's just so much like the thing we found out. Like if we don't just do a show, if we do like a show once a week, like we kind of right here, there's just so many news items. And Kushner himself, there's been so much turmoil with
the top secret clearance getting
and
revoked.
with OPIX, Gary Cohn, Gary Cohn, right?
Gary Cohn,
okay, the financial advisor who left, and then the trade. Then there was the tariff on the steel, which took the stock market down.
Yep.
And that Nunberg is the guy. And the next day after he sobered up, he said, "Oh, I'm going to go meet with the special counsel." Right. And he's one of Roger Stone's buddies.
Yeah.
And then Roger Stone's doing some crazy stuff, and
it's wacky.
Salem or whatever. I don't know. There's just so much going on. Meanwhile, Elon Musk just keeps sending rockets into space.
You gotta love
successfully.
Elon, yeah,
the good stuff. Yeah. So the big news. The reason I'm sending you all the USS Lexington.
Yes.
That was the big science technology news
battle. Big huge naval battle, Coral Sea, and they pretty much. It's somewhat written about in the history books. Although nowadays you almost got to get on.
Did you read that
graduate course?
Yeah. Did you read that article that I sent you? That was very good.
It did, and I thought it did a great job about actually giving its due. I mean, had it not been there in that moment and done what it had done. Australia.
Yeah.
So
so what happened is Paul Allen, founder of Microsoft, rich guy.
Yep, owner of the Trailblazers.
Owner of the Trailblazers.
Yep.
Collector of Jimi Hendrix things.
Owner of Seahawks,
Oh, does he own the Seahawks?
He owns the Seahawks,
music experience and all that stuff. One of his things is he has a research vessel.
Yes.
And I can't remember the name of it, but they go around looking for sunken ships, right? And so he went around and what they did is they found this aircraft carrier, the Lexington.
Yeah.
And the aircraft carrier Lexington, along with the Saratoga, was early World War II aircraft carriers. And it's a very interesting history if you read about it, because really the Lexington and maybe the Saratoga were the first two bona fide aircraft carriers. We had some before.
Converted.
Well, these were converted as well.
Yeah.
But this was when they learned how to actually really do operations on an aircraft carrier.
Right.
And, again, like the rockets and stuff we talked about, was pretty new technology going into World War II. Yeah, we had them like platforms in World War I, but the air supremacy and all that stuff wasn't all figured out.
Right.
And there was still, as I think you and I were talking about, there was still a lot of controversy within the Navy as to whether an aircraft carrier was actually something
there was a deep divide
right
in Washington and in the Navy Department.
Yeah, it's like old naval operations and wartime strategies versus this was, an aircraft carrier, and of course we know now that's, a really big deal.
Right, yeah.
And so we had just gotten, Pearl Harbor had just happened. I mean, the Japanese were bringing their Navy in. And so then, and the Japanese had an aircraft carrier or two themselves, and they brought them down to take Australia, the Coral Sea, and so the Lexington was there along with
Saratoga,
along with some others. And what happened was the Lexington was ultimately sunk. It was heavily damaged. It was like had 3,000. sailors, around 3,000 sailors on it.
Yeah.
A couple hundred perished.
Yeah.
What happened was it got, for 6 hours they tried to save the ship on fire.
Finally they had to scuttle
and then they finally got everyone out that was survived, and then they scuttled it. That's when your own Navy destroys your own ship because you want to sink it and not have it fall into enemy hands. And this was just a pivotal sea battle because it's really seen as saving Australia and bringing Australia into the war. The interesting thing, there was this great article in Australia, and I can't remember what news outlet online, but it was an Australian that goes through the history of it and the significance. And there's some significance about, even though we didn't sink their aircraft carrier, the Japanese, we did heavily damage it, and the Japanese couldn't really recover from that damage. Whereas, what did we do? We just said, guess what? We're going to build a lot of these. We're World War II. Let's build a ton of these things now. And so, we just, essentially, we won the war because we could build lots of stuff.
Battle of attrition, right? Yeah.
Tanks, ships, you name it, mobilized troops. We had the resources to do that. I mean, we were leasing tanks to the British, and
Right.
But anyway, it was really fascinating, and Paul Allen in a research vessel found the remains of the ship. Like a couple kilometers down or whatever. It's pretty low. And again, when they take pictures and all that of it, and it's was pretty well intact. Being down there, they're like
the planes were
incomplete,
complete, and just due to the underwater conditions, a lot of them had stood the test of time fairly well. I mean, there's a couple shots of some of the fighters, and you can see the nice gleaming paint job on the side. Like, wow, that's aged pretty well for being down in salt water.
There was one picture that they had taken, because they bring the ship and it's like drone submarines. Because you can't go down there.
Right.
So, and they take pictures and look around and video and all that.
Paul Allen takes the little pod thing, and he puts Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum in them and sends them down, to do.
That's the secret.
Hey, they're under contract. They got to do what he says.
That's if I can go down this deep, I can shoot this deep.
Right.
But so they did that, and one of the shots that I liked that was in this article was actually of the back of the ship that said Lexington, and you could make it out. So, But it's a fascinating read, and it's actually a fascinating read of the implications of that battle. And interestingly enough, they said in the article that both the Japanese and the Americans consider it a win on either side. The Japanese, because they actually were kind of had won the battle by sinking, and there was a couple other things that they sunk.
Right.
But then the Americans said strategically, long term,
right,
this did change the tides, and we did save Australia. So
right, yeah. I mean, it's glossed over today here in the West, but I mean, at the time, the battle, Coral Sea, if the Americans are routed, it is the gateway to Australia. And
right, Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, all those islands, the Atoll Islands down there, huge implications. And I'm glad to see that because that one article in the Australian paper you sent me was masterful. I mean, whoever wrote it,
I knew you'd like that because they really, they did a good job of going to the background and the history,
right? But that's not all. There was some news yesterday that broke. Some professor claims that he has found the remains of Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
Now, is that true or not? We don't know.
We're just recapping all the news. I mean, these are big things, though. Yeah. What it is, and I did read this briefly. They have they found some remains.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, and they had taken measurements and various other things.
Right.
And they had identified the remains on this island where they think good guess that maybe is where Amelia Earhart had crashed.
Yeah.
And they had determined that the bones were from a male, and therefore not Amelia Earhart. And what happened is through new research, they took all of this research and a forensic anthropologist ran the numbers, and they actually interesting. This is kind of interesting. They refer to this program that they use, like so now they can crunch it in a computer.
Yeah,
measurements of bones, and you can they actually take old photographs of Amelia Earhart, and they can see kind of the proportions. The interesting thing, one data point they had, is she was measured for, some clothes.
Sure.
I don't know if it was pilot clothes or whatever. And so they had all the seamstress data of the actual measurements of her body, inseam and all that.
Yeah.
So they crunched all these numbers, and they came back and said, actually, this was a woman, and based on these measurements and the measurements of the remains, we actually believe this is Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
And that's as close,
unless you can retrieve and run some DNA testing, if you have any of her, like any surviving family members of her to kind of compare with. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever truly empirically know.
She didn't have any kids, did she?
No, but I believe she had siblings.
Okay.
And you could judge the mitochondrial DNA off of that.
You can. Yeah. Very good, Jason.
Yeah.
Very good.
This DNA. Yeah.
But good.
I'm just working it.
Oh, you're doing Ancestry.com, are you?
That's right. Speaking of which, this hour brought to you.
Yeah. Please send us your DNA so we can put it on file.
And that's when the floodgates open.
Yeah. We have your DNA on file, don't we?
Ladies and gentlemen, please do not send us your DNA.
Oh, no. Not us. Oh, God, no.
No.
Oh, jeez. Thanks for clarifying.
I'm just wanting to, I better throw that out there because you never know. Maybe someone there in Dubuque is seeing it right now, like, hey,
cable
I could send
TV.
it. I could cut off my thumb and send it.
It would be someone in cable TV, I'm sure.
Yeah, somewhere.
Someone would be like calling in to the NuzBox to,
Comcast, Boise. Hey, send us your DNA. Right? We know.
We just wanted to know where we could send the DNA. I was like, no.
You guys are the best show ever in your time slot. It's DNA.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So
now to the sample she sent in, now we know exactly who she is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, there's a lot we can talk about with surveillance and all that, but we don't have to. In the news, Donald Trump's Stormy Daniels, Florida schools.
Yeah.
Barack Obama.
Yes, the Netflix. Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
He is going to be producing some shows.
Oh, yeah?
A line of shows for Netflix, and I think it's him getting...
coffee with comedians.
Coffee with Obama.
This would be a great idea.
I'd love to have... Yeah, Barack, if you're watching.
That's exactly what we would pitch him. It's like, Mr. President, we got this great idea. You drive a classic car, and you drive to a coffee shop with a comedian next to you, and we have GoPros, and we interview, and then you go get coffee and interview, and then you drive back. What do you think?
Trust me, Mr. President.
It's never been done before.
No. No.
I do like that show.
Of course, our version is slightly different. We're not in cars. We're actually in those little rascal scooters.
Presidents in cars getting coffee.
Right.
I mean, it could be like Barack. He's driving a Carmen Ghia, and there's Jimmy Carter. Like, you know.
Right, and they've taken over the whole drive-thru because they have to have so many, like, Secret Service guys on both sides.
It would be an entire motorcade. Here's this little, like, lime green Carmen Ghia. Right. Barack Obama's driving.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter's, like, I imagine, Jimmy's pretty old. He's spry, but I kind of imagine him a little bit down, Yeah,
he's like halfway down the dash.
Yeah, he's like in his 90s, right?
Sure.
And they're driving, and all you see is black SUVs and motorcycles all the way. And then they go to Cova Coffee in Portland.
Right.
And wait for 2 hours.
Right.
And I didn't say that. I didn't.
Well, an hour and a half.
Okay.
We'll be generous, an hour and a half.
I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
The first time I ever, and they've got wonderful coffee, wonderful place, but the first time I ever actually legitimately went to Cova Coffee, it was like, I just getting a cup of coffee, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm a simple man with simple needs. When Jerry Seinfeld, who does the comedians in cars getting coffee, had Fred Armisen on, and they were in Portland driving around, they went to Cova Coffee, and as a matter of fact, they did a whole bit as to how long the coffee took. And I was like, see, right there. And no offense, Cova Coffee, but fine coffee, it just... artisanal.
Can you imagine out there? You get this little car, and then on front and back, you got all the SUVs, blacked out window SUVs, bulletproof, and they're like, "Hey, Agent Jenkins, can you pull forward? I need to get to the window, man."
Helicopter.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh yeah, they're like at Black Rock or Dutch Brothers or whatever. It's like, there's a little, there's like a little Dutch Brothers over off of MLK. You know which one I'm talking about when you kind of come off of the viaduct there, and there's a little cute little drive-through Dutch Brothers right there.
Yeah,
with the parking lot. Could you imagine them going through and the guy's like standing there? It's like big SUV, 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 SUV. Just guys in sunglasses.
Small
then finally. The Carmen Ghia.
Yeah.
Would it be a Carmen Ghia, you think?
Maybe. I would like...
muscle car? Mustang.
Mustang would be nice, or old Chevelle would be cool.
Ooh.
The old Camaro, 69 Camaro.
Would it be Jimmy Carter, you think? You think?
I almost want to see, since it's...
You want W, don't you?
I want to... Because W can put away some coffee.
See, but then...
And he's laid back.
See, I thought W too. Well, if it's Obama, is basically Jerry Seinfeld, right?
Right.
So he's got multiple presidents. Why does he run out of presidents? Well, he could do like Noriega or something. I don't know. Is he still around, Noriega?
Somewhere.
Could be like Latin American deposed dictators. It's like, anyway, Sandinistas. Getting coffee with Sandinistas. But you could have like.
Yeah.
W, I would think they'd be in like a 1965 Ford pickup, classic something, something Texan, don't you think?
I'm thinking of
gun rack
in the back.
Yeah,
you got the huge CB antenna, maybe with the raccoon tail, flapping.
Beautiful.
And there's no electric windows. Oh no, you got the old cranker down, And of course W, he's all sassy now because he's in this truck. Yeah. So can I get some dark roast there?
He's making paint your toes, W. Did you paint your toes?
Right. And of course, Barack.
Paint your toes.
He's like, George, let me order. I want a scone. I want a scone. Give me a scone.
Oh.
But that's come on.
We're running this truck on switchgrass.
Tell me
switchgrass.
Right.
Truck's running on switchgrass.
Yeah.
Biodiesel.
Biogas. I didn't do that. I want a cruise.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Oh my God.
Diesel. Yeah.
We got it. Dude.
Yes.
Ring the bell.
Presidents and cigars.
Call us. Mr. President,
right.
We've got your show right here.
Ooh, instead of coffee with Curmudgeons, it's coffee with Commander-in-Chief.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I love it.
I like it.
I love it too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that show. It worked for Jerry Seinfeld. It's an entertaining.
It is
show. It's a watchable show.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry's a watchable, good host. I mean, Borroz. I think Obama is definitely telegenic.
Oh yeah.
Definitely good on the screen. I mean, we know that after 8 years. I mean, he'd come out and he's funny.
Yep.
He was a fun. He
articulate.
Very Kennedy-esque. I would almost say.
Very Kennedy-esque. Very media savvy. I mean, he's a.
Because that was Kennedy's thing. Kennedy was good on screen, on camera. Yeah. And Kennedy would crack a joke with the press or whatever, be personable. Even if they're not personal.
Operator,
But that's Obama. And I love that, man.
I would too. I'll be writing the treatment of that later tonight. The synopsis. And I'll be emailed to you like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Doc, here, look.
I think we got a show graphic.
We do.
Yeah,
roll the show graphic.
That would be great.
Yeah, it makes you wish Nixon was still alive, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like, how do you like your coffee, Mr. President? I'm not a cook. I'm not a cook.
Right, and then poking up through the backseat is Kissinger. What do we got? What are they going to get?
Maybe a Mercedes, a diesel Mercedes, 1967.
With this voice, ask them if they've got any muffins.
Yes.
I want blueberry.
Yeah.
Like, back, Henry, back. We're trying to order.
Yeah. Then the next to him in the backseat is Madeleine Albright.
Right. Yeah, she's back there.
Hillary Clinton's.
Right.
Oh, that would be it, right?
Hillary. Yeah.
He'd have to Now you won the popular vote, right?
Right.
We don't have to bring that up.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Barack.
Yeah.
When I was running for president, I won. Oh, Hillary, why'd you have to do that to Hillary?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great.
If he had Trump, you'd have to I found your Ferrari you sold back in Florida.
Right.
Like the Ferrari.
I don't know. I'd be kind of tempted to put Trump in like a DeLorean or something,
Oh my gosh.
The doors come flapping up,
Little Doc Brown in there. Back to the Future. Oh, this is the alternate timeline.
Do you guys serve any Big Macs? Any Big Macs? Could I get a Big Mac? What do you mean it's Starbucks? I want a Big Mac. That's what it'll be.
Speaking of Big Macs.
See, we can segue into anything right
No, this was a news item. Yesterday was International Women's Day. Actually, I guess this is Women's Month. Last month. But yesterday was International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And so apparently McDonald's, and I don't know, I didn't see this, but it was in the news, they flipped the arches over, the arches over to make a W.
Did you see the press conference on that?
I did not.
Yeah, the guy from McDonald's says, we're going to do this for International Women's Day. This is going to be great. Some guy from the Houston Chronicle stands up and says, hey, can't you just give the women, the same pay as guys?
Exactly.
And I said, no, look, we've got the arches.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's exactly right. I mean, that you got it right there.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pay us?
Just pay us.
Which is, I've always, been a big believer in, individuals do a job, they get paid for that job. I mean, I not to go all crazy, but that's one thing that I've never understood.
Yeah.
I have never understood the unequal pay gap.
I don't get it either, but of course, and again, we're living in a patriarchal society still. Yeah. And, well, we happen to be members of...
Yeah, I mean, it just seems logical to me, Captain.
Yeah.
So So that was your news wrap up, and we'll be seeing you. No, but I don't know what else. What else have you been tracking out there? Anything interesting? Ooh. Oh, we did.
Yeah,
want to make sure to talk about. Yeah. You mentioned Dame Lillard. Portland Trailblazers.
Huge game.
On a winning streak. I looked yesterday. They're third Western Conference.
Yeah.
So they've been coming up.
They're surging.
Yep, they're surging.
Yeah.
And they're one of the reasons they're surging, of course, because you need someone with a hot hand.
That's Damian
Lillard, man. And so he's just been like, I want to say, what is he averaging, like 24 or something, 6?
Yeah.
The newsflash, we're actually going to get Jay-Z sports reporter back on the show. I just found out last week.
We need it.
Yeah, he's coming back.
That's good.
I know.
We need it.
So he's like, he had like a, big get 39 points and this, and basketball, you know where it happens? That fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah.
And so the LA Lakers, they were down in LA. They were down. Fourth quarter, Lillard comes out and goes, well, I'm going to solve this problem for you here.
He is Mr. Clutch now.
Have you seen the highlights?
Oh,
I watched a couple highlights on Twitter.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't, at this point, if I could interview him, ask him, I go, why do you even cross the center line of the court? Because don't you just want to shoot?
Yeah.
This guy's shooting. Lillard is shooting. You have the key. You have the 3-point line here. And Lillard gets up and he's like, I don't want to. I think he's the basketball equivalent of being an introvert. He doesn't want to interact with these folks over here. It's like, I don't know about those guys.
Yeah.
I'm a little shy.
Yeah.
I think I'll just shoot it from here.
Yeah,
like he's outside.
Oh yeah.
Of the 3-point line.
Yeah.
I think the only other person I've seen really have a hot hand that far out is Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Golden State.
In fact, when they were playing the Lakers, I mean, he was throwing some shots up there from Glendale.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's one shot, and I don't know if it's Lakers or someone else. There's one shot of him, and he's got the ball, he's cruising down, and he puts up the shot, and he is so confident that he has hit it. The ball is still in the air, and he's already turned around and running down the opposite way because he knows it's going in. I'm like, how hot are you, that when you can just throw up a shot, and you can just, it's on its way. I'll just turn around and get on defense, get ready, because it's going to go in.
Yeah.
Holy cow. But huge game tonight.
Yeah, maybe we can ask. Maybe we could, I wonder, because we haven't tried this.
Yeah.
Alexa, what is Damian Lillard's average points per game?
This season, Damian Lillard is averaging 26.8 points per game through 58 games.
Nice.
Bam. She just lays it out there right like that.
Good job, Alexa.
Right.
Alexa, good job.
Thanks. I'm glad I could help.
Hey.
By the way, I forgot. I had to send you this video. You can change the name. We need to do that.
We can give her a new name?
Yeah, and here's why.
Okay.
Because if people are listening to the podcast, and when we do that, their Alexa turns on, and as a matter of fact, I made a video, and I didn't send it to you, but I had to, because I had the show. I was listening to the show on my phone, and we were asking the Echo something.
Yeah.
And it was sitting next to the Echo, and they both answered at the same time.
Yeah.
And I made a video of this for you, and I was going to send it to you. In fact, maybe I'll play it. I'll do it as part of the show.
I've had some of that happen at the house.
Yeah.
Where it's it's on, and the TV will say something, and Alexa will just randomly, I can't compute that. Or
there's some things about that what I want to say, that they're trying to fix that or something, but I'm not sure how they do it because mine's still going off. Now here's the other weird thing about this thing.
Yeah.
Alexa, laugh for me.
Sure, I can laugh. Tee-hee.
Okay, that wasn't exactly it.
That's...
Oh. That's our alarm. Alexa, cancel alarms. All alarms.
So I got a question for you.
Anyway, well, what I was going to say, this was in the news, that, and I don't know if this has happened to you, because I know you were a proud owner of one of these things.
Yeah.
What happened is they're breaking, Alexa just breaks into laughter. Like, for no reason. Like, you'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden, it starts laughing at you.
Ooh.
In a very weird laughter. Like, you remember on the campaign trail when Hillary Clinton would laugh?
Right.
That very odd, uncomfortable laugh. It sounds like that. So, it has not happened to me that I know of, but...
We got to delve into this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question.
No, it's and Amazon will be addressing it. So
right. So if we're going to change the name from the A letter, I don't want to get her going. What are you going to rename her as? Because I've got an idea.
There are a few options built in that actually came on last year. You weren't able to do it before without a hack, but I guess last year they allowed it. Like if you go on your app, have you used your app?
Oh yeah.
And one of them is computer, like Star Trek, and I always wanted to do that because then you can go computer, computer. So
see, I wanted to give her a cool name like Phineas Wiggleworth III.
Yeah, I think you have to do something.
Something
developer wise.
Well, it is the dream.
Yeah, it is. So interestingly enough, we have a guest.
We do.
Yeah, that's right. And as a matter of fact,
yes.
Hold this up here.
Okay.
Last night.
Yeah.
This is honest to God a true story too.
All right.
Last night, I watched the movie Goodfellas.
Oh yeah, great movie.
I haven't. Well, it's on Netflix. It was like, it's the dinner time hour. What do you want to watch? It was like Goodfellas. I haven't watched that in a long time, but. Yeah. Last night, we're doing a whole bunch of moving and renovation and stuff. My friend of mine, friend of the show, does record sales, record collections, all that. Excellent. So now there's like all these records sitting there. So good stuff too. And going through the stuff that needs to be redone and sold. And last night, we put this one on. And this is a fabulous album. Tony Bennett and Count Basie.
Right.
Tony Bennett, Count Basie band.
Strike up the band.
Smoking recording. We were going to look it up when it was recorded. I'm guessing somewhere in the 60s. It's a great recording, but I don't know. Maybe we'll look that up later. Smoking hot recording. And as I was listening to this record and enjoying it quite well, I related to my friend. I said, there are people who, when they were kids, and they went, and we were talking about, well, I when I was a kid, I never did get the chance to go see Basie. I never saw the Basie band, or Count Basie when he was still alive.
Right.
But I wanted to. I was a big Basie fan. And she related to me. She said, I said to her, I have heard the story that the kids in the 60s who would go down to Disneyland, and they'd have live, things in the summer and all that, would just walk into a bandstand and here's a big band playing. What's that big band playing? Count Basie.
Wow.
And his orchestra.
Wow.
And I said to myself, just in my brain, I said, self? I couldn't remember where I had picked up that story.
Yeah.
I had picked up this story in this fine publication. You can see it.
Okay.
From the desk of Sonny DeCosta, The First 32. Stories and Essays by John Borroz. And actually, I think it's Social 62, John can tell us here, that recounts the story of going to Disneyland and seeing Count Basie in the 60s. Can you imagine that? You're wearing that years, and then all of a sudden here's Count Basie. So, welcome to the show. Good friend of mine. Great guy. Musician, raconteur, I think we'd say. John Borroz. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. And
oh, you sounded great.
Thanks for having me, fellas. I'm a big fan of the show. I've seen the show many times. It's, nice to be here, and I do want to talk about the stories a little bit, maybe promote the book, but it's kind of thrilling. It is thrilling.
I mean, it's literally, I was like going, Count Basie, and Disneyland, and this is like in your first story. What was that?
I could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, what was that? How did that come about?
The story kind of wrote itself in that book. There's 32 stories. In addition to the book, in December of 2016, I started a couple of Facebook artist pages. I thought it'd be the easiest way to do it. And 95% of the people who read what I'm writing are on those 2 pages. But we have this print version. And most of the stories are somewhat fictional. But the one you're talking about, except for the name of the kid in the story, is Sonny DaCosta instead of John Borroz. It's 100% true. It's really what happened. And, the way I met Doc, for all you guys out there in Radioland, we played music together, and I was fortunate enough. I had lucky breaks, really, in some ways, and I made a living playing music for 25 years straight. I started when I was a 19-year-old kid. And between the time I was a tiny kid and then, there's really 3 things that happened that really got me going in music. And this thing about Count Basie was the second, chronologically, of those 3 things. And what really happened when I was a little kid, I mean, I was 10 years old. I guess I was about that big. And my dad and mom and me and my big brother and my little brother, it was over 50 years ago, but back then we kind of had those vacations like you see in the movies. My dad had a 1957 Plymouth with tail fins, huge V8 motor and a push-button transmission. And honestly, the Disneyland part to me, I was kind of a little adult when I was 10.
So you didn't dig?
I was a little adult when I was 10, and my real role model, well, there were a couple. One was Dean Martin, because he seemed like such a cool guy.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I was 10 years old. I wasn't fully formed, but the guy I really loved was Paul Drake, the guy in Perry Mason.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this guy's got the ultimate job. He drives around in a convertible, doesn't seem to work too hard. He has cool clothes, real cool haircut. And it seemed like all he ever did, he'd kind of hang out with Della Street and help Perry. And I thought, well, that's what I'd like to be when I'm 10. I don't want to be a fireman. I don't want to be a race car driver. I'd like to do what this guy's doing. And so when my folks said we were going to California, it was a variety of things. And I was fascinated by California because it was real rainy up here, and you look on TV and there's always palm trees around. So we go down there. We're doing a few different things. We do go to Disneyland. And to me, I thought, well, I don't know if Dean Martin and Paul Drake could get too excited about the Matterhorn and the little cup swirling around. So I was kind of a cynical little curmudgeon when I was 10 years old. I was kind of a 10-year-old.
You get a few martinis in Dino, and you never know. I didn't have
martinis when I was 10. But anyway, after we go once, and we visited my dad's friend in Van Nuys, and all the things we did, my mother had a really great New England accent, especially when I was a 10-year-old kid. And we go back to Disneyland one night, and there is an arena like Doc described. They have a bandstand. And the upshot of the whole thing, to me, it makes it a good story. I think it was honestly Guy Lombardo, or it might have been Les Brown, or one of those bands. That's who was on the schedule. And I'm sure Guy Lombardo's a perfectly nice man, probably has a cool band, except for the fact that Lenny Bruce always makes fun of him. I think that's bad for Lenny, and I'm sure Guy is fine. But we're sitting down to see the band, and my mom says, oh, John, you're going to like this. It's not going to be Guy Lombardo. It's going to be Count Basie,
Lombardo.
And the reality is I knew who Count Basie was. I was going to go into 5th grade, and I was kind of a little junior hepcat in training when I was in 5th grade, and I loved the World Book Encyclopedia. And in my spare time, it was kind of like Life magazine. It was like an encyclopedia, but it had cool photographs, black and white photos. We had the Encyclopedia Britannica. It was like the Old Testament. You opened it up. It was just nothing but text. I couldn't read this. I was a pretty good student. So I would always open up to the J for jazz. You know, the whole thing seems so outlandish now. Gee, jazz, like Wikipedia. Really, it was like Wikipedia for little kids.
Right, yeah.
And, of course, they had a picture of Louis Armstrong, and they had a picture of Duke Ellington, I'm sure. Billie Holiday was probably in there, Bick Spiderbeck, a few of these people. But I knew who Count was. They had a picture of Count, you know, and he was a very iconic guy. He had that round face.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't look too belligerent. He always seemed kind of mellow and cool. I probably never even heard his music. So in my little mind, I'm connecting a few things at 10 years old. It is Southern California. It was at night. My mom's sitting right here. And, well, it was old-fashioned showbiz. Probably some Disneyland employees said, ladies and gentlemen, Count Basie, you know.
Yeah.
Doc was in high school band. I was in the band, and you know, you have these 5 saxophones, and then a bank of 4 trombones, and then 4 trumpets, and then over here you have Count, Sonny Payne, whoever the bass player was, you don't know him, and Freddie Green, you know. And I was a little bit intrigued, and they came out, and it is a cliche, but 2 hours after sitting down, I mean, my whole life was changed musically. It was just completely changed. My little mind was blown into smithereens. The band was so great, but really this seems unbelievable true, but I haven't been on a talk show in 20 years, so I'm telling you it is true. It's like my whole life was kind of spread out in front of me. I figured if I can get through middle school, you know, get rid of high school, and if I can find like a trio or a quartet, I'll be set, you know. And actually, that's exactly what happened. That's precisely what happened. I went back home. I made it through 8th grade, which was a snap. High school was kind of tough.
Yeah.
I went to Northwestern University. I dropped out on February 5th. Came to Portland. There was a paper called the Willamette Bridge. It said, jazz trio, bass player wanted, you know. And I had a really good break, honestly. The other 3 people were 40 years old. I was 20 years old. But I, you know, called up with the old dial telephone. Yeah, I want to audition for the thing, you know. The guy lived in Rockwood on 170th and Burnside. Said hello at noon. We played music for 9 hours, and 2 weeks later I was playing money and getting paid for it. So
nice.
Yeah. I really think seeing Count Basie got me motivated.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a cool story.
That reminds me of that epiphany moment, right?
It was for me.
You know how many, you always hear the musicians, you know, for them it was, you know, when the Beatles were on Sullivan, you know.
Yeah.
At that moment they knew, and you had that epiphany right there.
Well, true, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a big Marshall McLuhan fan.
Yeah.
I love and respect the Beatles, but I'll just say there's a difference between a TV screen and being surrounded by 17, 45-year-old men. And, you know, the virtuosity, too. I've thought about this a lot. I'm a real throwback curmudgeon, old-fashioned guy for a baby boomer. But I thought, you know, if I could go back in 1969, and if I could go to Vegas for 10 days, and, you know, if you were there 10 days, you could see Basie, you could see Harry James with Buddy Rich, you could see Frank, Dean, George Burns. Or if I could stand in the mud at Woodstock, I would take Vegas myself. You know, I'm not putting anyone down, but you have to be subjective in this world. And I don't know. I just think it's a type of music. I don't know why they don't have a postage stamp with Count Basie. I guess because no one uses the mail anymore. But
well, the thing about that,
at least a monument, something like that.
Yeah, the thing about that, and that record in particular, the Bennett record. And,
the Bennett record, sure.
And you think, oh, it's Tony Bennett, all that.
Yeah.
When you hear, and with Sinatra, and when you hear, you know, this is like Sinatra. There's money behind these recordings, right? They're like, okay, and we're going to bring in Count Basie, and
everybody wanted him.
We're going to put money into this recording. So these are great recordings. I mean, sure, you got a singer up front, but these are fantastic recordings of Basie's band. That they're, I've heard it. I don't know if you've heard it. I've heard it said that someone once said to me that Basie's band, this 70, you know, this giant big band, plays like a combo.
Oh, they do.
They're that tight. And when you hear the sag, it's like they're so tight.
To me.
Like, it's just like incredible.
And they tell me all head arrangements, but I...
Yeah.
You know, that's my particular passion, you know.
Yeah.
It's just the level of virtuosity. And I'd also, for me, you know, I'm not a big celebrity person. I don't have fans of everyone. I always think of also Harry James, Harry James Band, and Billy May.
Yeah.
Who was the soundtrack guy for Dragnet and Emergency and all that stuff. But I don't know. I am a curmudgeon. I love the show. I have some coffee. I'm with curmudgeons, and I am one. But to me, you know, if we were here right now and the studio was a little bigger, you'd take that guy in the Super Bowl and say, okay, kid, let me see what you got. You know, if you get rid of the lasers and the fact he's got 20,000 square feet of stage, I honestly don't think the guy is much of an act. Sorry, I've probably offended him. But if you take, you know, the third trombone player for Basie, or anyone with Harry James, just the level of artistry kind of blows my mind. So.
Yeah.
But that was what that story was about. Yeah. There's other stories, and, you know, I like some of them, and there you have it.
So when I got to know you, you were playing music, and we showed one photo here. So you were like a working musician for years and years and years.
Wanted to stick with it.
And then you've kind of gone into this kind of self-publishing, this kind of publishing, writing, which seems like a thing, a reflection, right?
Well,
from being a front man, singing, playing music.
It's a good question.
Try
to I'm all down with numbers, you know. Yeah. I'm going to be 66 next week. To me, trying to do some creative writing and reaching out to a few people who enjoy it. Yeah. And I want to talk a little about the website too, or just the reality. You know, I'm not going to pick up an amplifier and go do gigs for 25 years now. I just don't want to do it. I'm too old, you know.
Right.
So it makes sense to kind of, you know, you were in my band. You know, I played behind my head. We also did 5 sets. We'd play from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m.
5 sets. Always. So I don't even remember. I was
always we did that much.
I guess I was so young that I didn't remember it was 5. I thought it was 3
years old.
4.
No, we played from 9 to 2. Yeah. But however you want to put it, you know, I couldn't have written something when I was 25 and play wild music when I'm 65. So I don't know. It's something to do. You know, you want to kind of stay young when you. What blows my mind is in 15 years, knock on wood, I'll be 81 years old. I can't quite get my head around that, but, you know, I think I played guitar with my teeth for the last time, maybe. Yeah. But
never say never.
Never say never.
Right. So that's, we're...
And I would like to talk about, I think my manager sent you a couple of photos. There's a
couple we showed one of them. And actually, we had the, we showed one of them while you were talking there, and here's this.
Those guys,
with this is Frank Bonema. You did some stuff with Frank Bonema.
Frank in the middle.
Yeah,
the guy on the right is a guy named Andy Strick.
Yeah.
That's yours.
What year was that?
Right. That photo was taken in 1979. We did a Halloween gig at the Silver Moon on 21st and Everett. But mostly the old timer on the right, although he's 20 years younger than I am now, and me. There's a really nice club in southeast Portland now called Dots.
Yeah.
And there's also, you know, the Clinton Street Theater has a Rocky Picture Horror Show.
Right across the street.
Doc and I were there a few weeks ago, and a friend of mine who played drums with me were there the following week.
Yeah.
And that block is like a time capsule. It's never changed. But
this is over
the old fellow on the right had a gig. I joined him. I was there every Friday and Saturday night. I didn't miss a gig from June of 79 to July of 81. And Frank used to come and sing with us. And, you know, I wish someone had made some recordings or something. The guy was a very good singer and just an extremely nice man.
So he just come and sit in?
Give a shout out for Frank, and of course he died a long time ago. But really nice man. Really nice guy. And really fun. Just lots of fun. That's what I don't know what music is like for kids now, but when you and I did it, which was 35 years ago, and it's fun, you know, just a fun time. You kind of can't believe you're doing this for a living, but I was a lucky guy. I had a lot of good breaks.
There's some crazy times over there.
For those who don't know about Frank Bonema, Frank Bonema was the original he was the MC. He was the guy on Portland Wrestling you saw for years and years. And he for gosh sakes, people like him, you know, Tom, they are local institutions. I mean,
they were back then. And I'd like to kind of toot their horn and make people remember them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's true.
But for those who grew up in Portland area,
baby boomers love the guy.
Yeah.
Baby boomers really love him.
Yeah. The old you can find you can go up to YouTube and find some old recording. There's some stuff. Yeah, there's a few
no
people.
music, unfortunately, but him interviewing the wrestlers.
Yeah.
God,
really nice guy.
God bless Rich Patterson. He is the producer for Blazer. The Blazers and Blazer Cable.
Yeah.
He has the complete library of the Don Owens, Frank Bonham, Portland.
I'm glad to hear that.
And he is, instead of just shelving everything, he is actually putting it all out on YouTube for free. You can see all of it.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking about Dots, which is Dot, and it was called. Was it always called Estrelitas?
It's called Estrelita.
And I remember going in there several years ago when it had become Dots and all that. And you're right, the place hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed a bit.
And I was sitting in a booth.
Right.
And I was sitting there with some friends.
Yeah.
And I looked around, I'm like, it's like the deja vu, the kind of thing. And I said, I've sat here before. In the drum throne.
Playing drums, that's right.
And there were drums right here. And there was a bandstand right here where I'm sitting. And I was sitting just about here.
God bless Estrelita, they did build a stage. They had a stage, and basically they took out the stage and put in 3 booths.
Yeah,
the room is identical. And it was like a little neighborhood tavern that was pretty well run.
Yeah.
And it was just the right size. A big crowd would be 55 people.
Yeah.
But, of course, there was only essentially about 700.
It's the same room today.
So it felt like Mardi Gras, But anyway, we had a great old time, and Frank was a big part of it. There were other people, too. Billy Rancher came down and played with us more than once. A guy named Joe Velasquez used to come all the time. Frank was the most famous guy that had come by. Dwayne Jarvis, who played in Nashville with Lucinda Williams. He and I were the duo for 3 months in 1979. So a lot of really talented people were at that little club.
Yeah.
Time flies,
I haven't, as I'm renovating and going through a lot of things, I haven't yet encountered the box that has set lists and that, but at some point I'll be finding that.
You have a box with set lists?
I think so. I think somewhere I have some
set lists, kind of. We didn't have too many.
Yeah. Something. Well, I need it. The drummer always needs.
Maybe I gave you a set list. I don't remember.
Because, drummers is like, the memory's like a fly, it's kind of like, what are we doing now, But Estrelitas, I don't know if I told this story, but John's here. I got to tell the story.
Sure.
And it was, I don't know, I guess I was 19 or something. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we're in there, like you said, 9 to 2 a.m. Just
I think it was 87 when you played with me, I'm pretty sure.
Something like that.
Yeah, we went back for 6 months.
87, 93, 62.
Because I met you in 83. So
they're all numbers, man.
Yeah. A long time ago.
We don't talk about it, right? But we were there playing, and we were playing a tune, doing the working thing, right? And I think, we had a little, and there's a lady behind the bar.
Oh, yeah.
Bartender.
I remember.
And sometimes, this was classic, and I'll always remember it. Sometimes things would get a little out of hand.
In 87 especially. That's why I quit. But it got a little rowdy.
It got a little rowdy, didn't it?
It got rowdy.
And I remember this guy kind of comes in, he's wearing a jacket, and we're just playing.
I know that.
And people are dancing.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of altercation going on in the bar.
Once in a great while, I'm sorry to say.
Yes,
very often.
With this guy with this windbreaker. And at some point, I'm playing, and I see the guy chuck a glass at the bar.
It has happened.
He didn't hit the bartender, but he threw the glass at the bar.
It happened.
And you're playing, and you can't stop. The show must go on, right?
This is true. We didn't stop very often.
No. And I'm like looking around. I think you soloing or whatever, and I'm looking at a bass player.
Right.
I'm like, and he's looking at me like, wow. And then I see the lady come out from the bar. She yells, and you could hear her even over the music. You're out of here.
Yeah.
She walks over, grabs the guy by the shoulders, and just body checks, just literally physically throws him out of the bar. I'll never forget that.
There were some wild moments.
Yeah. And
there was a guy, we had a tip jar, the guy came up and said, I want Kansas City. And then 30 minutes later he said, I want Kansas City. And then 40 minutes later he said, I want Kansas City. The 5th time he came up, I wish I could stand up, but he kind of said, I want. he just kind of falls over, hit the PA column, landed on the ground. Charlotte, I hope you have his keys, you know. But yeah, there were some wild, crazy drunks and crazy people.
What's the roughest?
I didn't like so much. I was sorry when we had the drunks.
Yeah.
But in 79, 80, and 81, it was pretty benign. And you could have your mom come, you know. So
yeah.
But in 87, it was wild. There were a few
little rough,
rowdy people. Well, what can I tell you?
Well, I mean, it's memories. What's the kind of the roughest, kind of the weirdest thing that
there were
happened to you when you were playing?
Well, there were a few fights.
Just fights breaking out as you're doing a guitar solo or whatever?
Occasionally, not just at Estrelita, you know, a lot of rock and roll clubs.
Yeah.
But not often. And when they did, I would go the other way usually because I don't like that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've seen the occasional, nothing like a knockdown, drag out on Gunsmoke, but you know, you'd be playing and, you know, once in a while, a good club in those days, I'd like to change the subject to something more pleasant soon, but I mean, you have to have a bouncer. You got to have a bouncer.
Yeah.
And anyway.
What was this place? Was it out there on the east side? It was like a VFW or something like that, and it was Elvis impersonators.
I can't remember. I've been to one like that.
Yeah.
We played a lot of country western on the east side. Yeah. Some country western joints are pretty rough, but I really think it's too bad when that happens. But it does happen. But it probably makes for a good story. But
I know.
I'm a little bit of a Pollyanna. My stories, the only other story I really remember, you know, and let me mention probably out of time, as the saying goes, pretty soon.
No, we're doing good. We're
doing good. But, you know,
plenty of time.
Like anybody else, I mean, I don't think Ernest Hemingway sells too many print books now. Someone gave me a Kindle for Christmas. One of the best gifts I ever got, you know, and there's a lot of stuff. I can only get it on Kindle. Boy, I'd like to read so-and-so's book. Yeah. Well, you know, it's not available in print. So, you know, it's kind of like the New York Times. I mean, that the Washington Post, the only papers in the world, right? Who gets an Oregonian now? One person out of 45.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, everybody got a pound of newsprint on your door on Sunday morning, you know.
Right.
So I figured, well, I would like to write some stories. I hope people like them, you know, and I have mixed feelings about Facebook for obvious reasons. But
don't we all?
You know, it's easy, you know, it's easy. I mean, I guess I could have a page called From the Desk of Sonny DaCosta. I guess I could have one called John Borroz Writer. I mean, they make it easy for you. So, and like a lot of other people, a friend of mine who shall remain nameless told me, he says, well, we took a little hiatus. We have 4 weeks off. You know, these things happen. And I just started writing in December, and everything kind of flowed out of me, and I wrote those 32 stories. I got up to 44, and I took a break. This was probably in a year and a half. But what I noticed, I was pleasantly surprised. You know, Facebook has little demographics, and they have little counters, you know, and I thought, gee, this story has 220 views, and this story has 219 views, and this story has 300 views. And I thought, yeah, I'm reaching a fair number of people. Yeah. But there's one story, I don't remember the number, it's in the book. The title is The Big Money Boys. When I was a kid, my dad was always talking about the big money boys. And if you think about politics today, you can connect the dots. Right. But this one is fictional. First story is true. This story is fictional, but it's set in Las Vegas. But the thing I noticed, it had 2,045 views. And I thought, well, this is intriguing. Every artistic person wants to reach people, you know. I haven't sorted it out. I'm a one-man operation. I have no number crunchers. But I find every time I write something about Las Vegas, it really does get a big spike. And I think people are just fascinated by mid-century Vegas. I know I am.
It has that mystique.
For what it's worth, I like that story. I think times have really changed. It's a time capsule baby boomers can hang on to. We go down there every winter for a little getaway, and we enjoy it, you know, but it's just mind-blowing if you could go your Wayback Machine, excuse me, to 1965. It really was, if you took Gresham and put it in the middle of the desert, there were 65,000 people. The strip really was a strip. There was 2 lanes in this direction, 2 lanes in that direction. There was a median that was 20 feet across. There wasn't a building more than 3 stories tall. And now, of course, there's 3 million people. And
sands.
There's no sand anymore. Yeah, there used to be, well, the sands also used to be sand, you know. You'd go 2 blocks off the strip, it was a desert. So I think it's just fascinating. And they had great musicians there as well, and comedians and everything you guys are talking about. I think people just find that interesting.
Now, what I like about this is that in the print edition, you actually have photography here.
Nice.
That was kind of an accident, too. I'll give a shout out to a real good friend of mine who has a website here in Portland called William Regan. Go to williamreganwriter.com or Google that, spelled the normal way, Regan. And Bill used to do this thing every November. He would do what he called found photograph stories. I don't know quite how it works. I think he actually had a shoebox full of photos. He'd pick out a photo and write a story about it. I just found it totally fascinating, and it's a good cure for writer's block.
Yeah.
The guy was very disciplined. He has a very good website, if you can locate it. It used to be every November. I'd really look forward to this. You know, on the first he'd write a story, on the second he'd write a story. And I started including a few photos with my stories, and after number 32, all the ones we do now, we have a photo almost all the time because people look more. I don't know why, but people do like a photo. So.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
They like a photo.
It works on a different level.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I was just looking here too. You've got the print, and like you're talking about, it's nice to have the print. Nice to have the print stories.
If I had the ability to have paper copies, I think would be great.
Yeah.
I think you have signed in edition number.
I do.
8 of 20. So, you know, but I think old-fashioned books are the coolest.
Now, you have also, you have something on the web, or is it on your Facebook page?
There's two Facebook artist pages.
Okay.
See what it comes like.
Okay.
In the search bar,
where people could find
writer, and they come up.
Oh, okay. John Borroz writer.
It should be there somewhere.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So,
we have a few other irons in the fire, but they're still in the fire.
There it is, right there.
I hope they come out of the fire. And
I was just going to show the folks.
A horse or something.
I was just going to show the folks what they got here in the website. That's a good picture there. Yeah. There we go. So John Borroz writer. There's a picture there, and little Portland, Oregon looks like a nice picture. So yeah.
I think there's...
And this is where you're posting online your stories.
They use the word publish. I guess you publish a story. There should be all 44 there, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. It's like right there. So that's great. I mean...
Cool. Yeah.
Are you like you said, are you just gonna focus on the writing, or are you just still do a little music here and there? So you're doing a little music, right?
So, well, special occasions.
Special occasions?
Yeah.
So, did you travel down to Mexico, or?
We did. Yeah, I want to kind of give props here, Jason, to Doc, actually.
So?
You know, he's a great archivist. We have some stuff on YouTube that he put up. Well, I don't think YouTube existed in 1989, but Doc made these videos. It's modest. We have probably 5,000 views, but honestly, some good friends and family members in Mexico saw those videos, and we went down there 2 times in 2012 and 2013. So if it's something special, I'll do it, but I'm still not going to set up the amps, and I have to be done by 9 o'clock at night. So.
No 2 a.m.
But that's actually what happened down there. They set up the amps, they built the guitar from scratch, they did all the ticket selling, and yeah, I would be happy to do special occasions. It's just, I'm not a kid, you know. I used to be a curmudgeon on the inside. Now I'm a curmudgeon on the outside. The funny thing to me about playing 106 weekends at Estrelita, too, when I stopped, it was so wonderful on Friday night to not be doing anything. I just loved it so much. You know, Friday, I'm not going to work. Saturday, I'm not going to work. It was like dropping out of high school. So.
How novel, right?
How novel, you know, and... I also did graveyard shift for years after I finally quit music after 25 years. So I'm kind of a Squaresville L7 on the outside. When it gets dark, I like to go to bed. When the sun comes up, I like to wake up, you know. But if I can play a little music between 2 and 4 p.m. in a nice club, I guess I would do it. But no fist fights, I guess, really.
Right, yeah.
Not for me, anyway.
Okay, John, I got a question for you.
Please.
If someone young came up to you and said, hey, John, I really want to be a professional musician. I want to do this for a living. Exactly. What is the 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you would tell them?
Well, that has actually happened to me a few times. And the most fun thing about being a retired musician, essentially my age, I met a kid who was 22 years old in a theater class I was taking a couple of months ago, and that's pretty much what he told me. Usually it's not so much advice. What I find is if you just, you know what I think everyone wants is just a sincere compliment, honestly. I didn't give the kid advice. He didn't ask me a question.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of a variation on the Louis Armstrong. If you got to ask, you're not going to get the answer because it's not a, you know, that's kind of like, hey, Jason, I think I have geometry, but tell me what algebra is. You know, that's when you do ratios, you know, 3 to 4 is what, 25, you know.
Right.
But what I found, and this kid was super sincere, I loved meeting the young guy. He's in L.A. now trying to make a living, you know. When I went to Mexico, I met some guys. They were friends of friends. I wanted to be polite. I went in the club, and it was kind of like seeing Count Basie. It was that good. I thought, these guys are magnificent. Wow, yeah. So what I always do, be it a writer or a young musician especially, I just sincerely say, I think you sound absolutely fabulous. I'm so glad you're a professional musician. Please keep doing it.
Yeah.
I really try to do that. And I found a lot of older people still want the same thing. I can't quite tell the difference between writing and music. Musicians tend to be extroverted, writers tend to be introverted, but I think anyone in any artistic field, they appreciate a sincere compliment. The thing is to be sincere and not say too much, really. Really, don't say too much. To say, hey, I really love your stuff. Yeah. Thank you. That's what I try to do.
I was just thinking of that because the face of music, especially over the last 20, 25 years, has changed so much.
I think it has.
And so, to me, I mean, when I was,
a kid,
about, you know, I was doing that in mid to late 80s and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And I wouldn't know what to tell someone. Like, if my kid came up to me and said, hey, you know, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be all supportive.
Sure.
But, I mean, with the way the venues are these days, the way just everything is shaking out, I don't know what I could tell him as far as, you know.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. You know, I don't really, there's so many ways to frame the question. If you were a 20-year-old kid and you wanted to play music, what would you do?
Yeah.
Man, that's a great question. I guess you'd have to find where live music opportunities are. It's changed a lot. I think there were more live music opportunities.
Yeah.
I know Doc's a big jazz fan. I'm a big jazz fan. That's always kind of, it never was in the center. It's not in the center now. You know, you can go to Mount Hood and get in the stage band.
Right.
You can put an ad on Craigslist and say saxophone lessons, all styles, you know.
Yeah.
I think you always have to scuffle. That's my guess.
Gotcha.
And there's always people who want to be, you know, Johnny Winter had a great quote. He was a rock star and he was a great musician. And somebody said, well, Johnny, what would you do if you hadn't made it big? He said, oh, I'm sure I'd be playing for $200 a week in some little tiny hole in the wall, you know.
Right.
So I really think it is two separate things. Yeah. You know, and there's some celebrities who are great. There's some celebrities who just want to be famous. But what he said was, and I agree with Johnny Winter, you just got to, first of all, you have to have an instrument. That's my main problem with the 21st century, you know.
Right.
I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon, but
no, I mean,
what do you see now? You see these talent shows, and you see The Voice, and you see all these things. But I don't know, what would Buddy Rich do if he came along now? He'd probably be playing in a jazz band in a college.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? Is he a little bit more talented than somebody that kind of is channeling Celine Dion? Well, I think he is. I mean, no offense, but I guess, you know, you got to be subjective somehow.
Right.
So if someone had an instrument, if they either sing or play the flute, I would say I believe in the old-fashioned way. You got to play somewhere, and you got to play live with a lot of electronic effects.
There you go.
That's what I think.
Yeah, these kids. You go up on YouTube now. You see these kids playing. I mean, it's kind of scary.
People. There always are talented.
I'm watching these little kids
playing the guitar
doing like
or something.
Buddy Rich
or
stuff on YouTube, and you're just like, wow, you know. I mean, I mean, on the one hand, you know, everyone's like the internet. You know, there's bad things going on, but on the other hand, it's also good things. The YouTube
it's
and all
amazing,
that, like we talked about.
But who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, who really does know? You know?
Yeah. What are you? What's your plan for writing more? Just posting on Facebook? Are you going to publish another one here?
Well, I do have the irons in the fire. Don't want to talk about them too much because they don't let the air out of the fires. But the thing to do now is connect with someone on the internet. There are some cool websites. Some are specialties. Some are just, But you want to, I think anything, I would just be totally delighted to just make a few little steps, like being on the show. This is a little bit of a step. You gotta be like showbiz a little bit. A lot of it's the old-fashioned word of mouth, but Doc and I were saying 30 years ago, you have to have a web presence, So
oh, boy.
My web presence just doubled thanks to this show because, tell me how we do this, we'll tag it or something. But, if you, proverbially, if you Google John Borroz, all the old Doc Normal things come up. And I think John Borroz Wire comes up. That's why I switched from Sonny to Costa. It has no name recognition. I'm the only John Borroz in the Western Hemisphere. But, if you, things like... a video interview, and you want to leave a trail of hopefully pleasant things people enjoy, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. Also, I am an old guy. I'm a curmudgeon. I'm not hugely ambitious. I just would like to keep busy and do a little better, but, I don't want to... I kind of like baby steps, I guess.
When did you fall into the writing bug? I mean, because it's a recent one for me when we started talking about doing old time radio, and I've been writing scripts and stuff.
Yeah.
And when were you when did it become more than, well, instead of just scribbling, man, I'm gonna tell the story. I'm gonna write this book. I'm gonna do this.
I think the fact when I launched this little Facebook writer page, and I always had at least 80 or 90 or a couple hundred people viewing it. I figured, well, I'm reaching someone a little bit. It is kind of like Johnny Winter, $200 a week in the little room. They asked Ray Charles the same question. They said, well, what would you do if you didn't become a superstar? He said, I'd be playing the piano somewhere in a hotel room, So you just kind of do it because you want to do it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a cliche. I really haven't done an interview in 20 years, so if you ask me... Yeah, like Jack Carter. I'd love to come back, Johnny. If I come back in 6 months and you ask me, that was really what I want to do, quite honestly. I'd probably give a better answer, but I think, I don't know. You just want to do it. I think you just really want to do it for the sake of doing it. You have some good stories, hopefully.
Yeah. The
Count Basie one's a good story, it's a true story. You just kind of like to put them there. You want to leave a little mark of some kind,
Yeah.
And I'm really so delighted. I'm a big Doc Normal fan. I don't want to come across like a sycophant, but, this is a guy who really archived whatever music I had. And so it's a little bit easier to archive literature. All you got to do is type and print it out somewhere. Yeah. It's easy to get on cyberspace, but all this stuff like making those videos, I couldn't have done it. So.
Yeah, I was looking up here at these videos. Some weird YouTube thing going on. But TV Mama did come up.
Well, that one has had a lot of views, and it got me the job in Mexico. And I know people just enjoy it.
It's weird. YouTube's doing something weird to me right now. It says it's deleted video in the playlist, but it's still... Making Whoopi's one of my favorites on there.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But there's a I don't know. We can send out a link after the show.
Sure.
There's some playlists up there. I think we're doing some stuff. We made some nice videos, and we did some live stuff in Selwood Park and whatnot.
So.
Yeah.
I'm happy with them.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
You can tell if people enjoy what you're doing. That's really what it comes down to me. And sometimes you flop. It's like anything else. Sometimes people don't enjoy what you're doing. That's all part of showbiz. It really is.
Yeah. I was just looking here, walking around the pool with George Burns. It's an interesting title. I love that.
I got a nice reaction to walking around the pool with George Burns.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were snowbound about a year ago in January?
Yeah.
That was kind of the motivation to write that story. I couldn't get out of the house unless I wanted to shovel snow. So yeah, walking around at the pool with George Burns is it's a little bit of a stream of consciousness. I don't remember it, but the part about the title, of course, I love George Burns because he was such a very old guy. He was a great comedian. Yeah. He seemed like a cool guy. And I try to document, I try to look things down, but when you tell a story, you don't really know. I don't remember. did Charles Bukowski say this, or did I have a dream that I thought he said it?
Right.
So the gist of this story, I can't prove it, but it's benign. But I'm pretty sure I listened to an interview with George Burns once. Mm-hmm. I think it was on TV. It might have been on the radio. And, of course, how many millions of interviews did George Burns do? How many times has he been asked questions? I remember the interviewer was kind of a game show host kind of guy. He wasn't someone real famous. But, you know, the shtick about George, of course, his main shtick ultimately was he was a 99-year-old stand-up comic.
Right.
But, of course, he was with Gracie Allen, and everybody liked him, and he seemed like a nice guy, but no pushover.
Yeah.
But everyone always wondered, gee, he's 99. He was slim and trim. He looked pretty good. You know, he had a gig on his 100th birthday. He died about 3 months before. Happy guy, vibrant guy, and the young kid, this is in the story. Either the voice I heard or the one I think I remember, but I'm pretty sure I heard it. The young kid said, hey, George, what's your secret, you know? You're 85. You look like you're 65. What's your secret? And George kind of sort of said, well, you know, I live in Southern California. I'm delighted to be there. I'm real happy to be there. It's a beautiful place to live. And, of course, I'm pretty well-to-do, and I have a pool. And he said, you know, that's part of my secret for being in good shape. I have a pool. Of course, the guy was in vaudeville for a million years. I thought it was hilariously funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, of course, you thought he was going to say he swam in the pool. And he said, well, yeah, I got a pool, and every morning I wake up, you know, and usually the weather's pretty good down here, and I walk around the pool once. That's my secret. At that time, I think I was about 35. I thought, man, this guy, he's like the next Paul Drake, you know, Paul Drake 2.0. Yeah. What could be better, be 85 and just walk around the pool once, you know? Yeah. No Pilates, no weights, no working up a sweat. So he didn't even get in the pool. He's too cool for the pool, too cool for school, too cool for the pool. All he did was just walk around once. And
I can imagine with a martini walking around the pool.
Right?
Just once.
Right. Yeah.
Not even 5 laps.
I know. That's kind of a lifestyle that I like.
Yeah.
I mean, Pilates.
Maybe. You know, I was zoning out before I came on. Were you guys talking about Jerry Seinfeld, the Coffee with Comments, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
George was too old to be on that show. He would have been great. I saw Rickles there. Rickles was great.
He did do.
Yeah. Don is one of those guys, too. He died when he was 90. I don't know if he made the Academy Awards, but he was funny right up to the very end.
In memoriam, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in there. Really, they had Don.
Everyone says he was a great guy. He seemed like a wonderful guy. And you always want old guys setting good examples. He's been like a happy guy.
Yeah, there was it was on Netflix. There was a biography movie about Don Rickles just a couple of years ago, and he takes you behind the scenes of what it was like for him growing up in that and what he does now. And it's just one of those real revelatory things where it makes you appreciate him on a whole new level. Yeah. Because, I mean, you've seen him do this thing on Carson, or you've seen him do the roasts and other stuff. Yeah. But when you hear him backstage with the tie askew, you know, and he's talking about the craft and, you know, how you got to pick each other up and don't, you know. And it's like, wow, man, this guy... Yeah, the part you never see, because usually he's on stage doing his routine.
He's also a very good dramatic actor.
Yeah,
and a lot of comedians are.
Casino.
Yeah,
I just like I said, I was watching Goodfellas last night, but then the follow up to that
on that too. I mean,
Casino.
The guy was really a very effective actor.
Kelly's Heroes.
Kelly's Heroes. There's one for the Curmudgeon movie list. Kelly's Heroes. Rickles.
Telly Savalas. Clint Eastwood. Yeah. Oh yeah. Young Donald Sutherland.
Love Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. I was just. I hate to put you on the spot, and it's fine. This is live TV, right? Ask me. Yeah. But I was wondering, and if you don't want it, you can come back, or we can do this later. I was just wondering if you wanted to do a short little read from the book. Oh. I mean, it's up to you. I mean,
if you want me to, sure.
I just thought that would be kind of a nice little.
Well, Doc, why not?
Little thing.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. On the spot.
I will do my best.
Yeah. Just give us a from and You just tell.
Short is always better than long. Some of these are very short.
Sure. Well, that's what I.
Good. Let me think for a minute.
That's okay. I just, like I said, just putting you on the spot. We didn't talk about this, but I thought, I always like it. I think we were talking about years ago. Oh, over there at PSU, and they'd have like bands. You said you play, and I remember seeing. I think it was Dave. Is it Dave Alvin from the Blasters? Was it?
Did he play down there?
Yeah. No, but he would do some poetry readings.
Oh, would he really?
And stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he'd just be hanging out and other people. I think it was, and you'd be like there with your burger and your fries, and what are we doing today? Oh, reggae band.
Noon maybe at the Smith Center.
Noontime at the Smith Center. I don't know if they do that anymore.
Band once? I know I played there. I didn't know if you were playing.
I don't think I did.
Didn't you?
Yeah,
PSU is a nice place.
I once made the cover of the faculty newspaper with a picture of me out in the park blocks with a timpani.
Oh my gosh!
Playing the timpani.
Yeah.
And I went to class one day, and the teacher was like, "Hey, you see the thing?" And I'm like, "What thing?" And I'm like, "Oh, what now?" Right?
Yeah.
I was playing late night with John Borroz, a little hungover. What now? Right? And I was like, "Oh, your pictures." And I'm like, "Okay, that's wild." And I remember the gig. Right? This is the typical musician gig. Right? You wake up late and you forget that you have a gig, right? And so you're running down, like getting down there going, oh crap. And then you walk into the band room and no one's there. Like the whole place is cleared out.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, exactly. And then, in your fly brain that drummers have, you go, gig, outside, now. And so I run out there, and everyone had set up, and literally they about ready for the downbeat. And here I come cruising in, mallets in my hand. It's like,
yeah. Did you make it on time?
I think I did, just by the hair, the chinny chin chin.
Yeah.
Hair all mussed up and everything. And then someone takes a photograph and publishes it in the paper, and I'm like,
well.
So that's the background story to that wonderful thing.
I almost never get stage fright. I'm a little nervous, but I did find a story. I'll read it.
Let's.
you got to be a little spontaneous. I have a drummer story about Esfrolita.
Yeah.
I really did play there. What's the math? 106 times 2, 212 nights in a row.
Mm.
And eventually it settled down. We had one drummer, really great young guy, who shall remain nameless because of the nature of this story. But he played with us probably 100 nights. Rob Shoemaker, who plays with Norman Sylvester, played with us probably 150 nights. It was mostly a trio. And we had a little bit of publicity back then, kind of like this, but more that 1980 call on the telephone, come by the club version. And somebody was coming from a paper to write up about our band. And I think it might have been the Downtowner. They used to have a week thing. Yeah. They were very nice people. I always like all media people. Or it could have been that guy from Kissin' Radio. They interviewed me on Kissin' Radio. But anyway, this drummer, as Mike was saying, that's what reminded me. He was a very eccentric kid, as a lot of drummers are. He was a super drummer, super talented. Well, he was only 17 years old. He was very, very scattered. And were you talking about a Chevy or a Camaro or something? He had one of those kind of redneck hot rod, Smokey and the Bandit, jacked up. It wasn't a GTO. He's too working class for that. It was like a Pontiac Tempest with huge wheels, He was a great kid. I mean, central casting drummer. And, of course, I'm kind of excited. We got a few people coming, and the place was packed, And he was always a little late. Downbeat was at 9, and he would usually show up at 10 minutes to 9, and they used to call me the Bob Newhart of rock and roll. I wasn't like you. I wasn't spaced out. I was really kind of a Squaresville, but I was recording at Wave Studios once. They said, John, give us a good old rock and roll scream. I said, I don't do that sort of thing, I was kind of the Bob Newhart of rock and roll, but we had these, the bass player was rock solid. He was always there. We never had to move our equipment, but I'm thinking, oh, God damn it, where the hell is the drummer? We have a lot of people there. I think the news person, we got a photographer, can we take a picture? Yeah, he'll be here soon, It seems like I'm making this up. I'm not making this up. I really rarely get stage fright. And I have a lot of chutzpah. I have a lot of what Mr. Rickles, I'm sure, would call chutzpah.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to let the show go down, you know. And so I actually walked around the room. He did have his drums there, and he had the drumsticks. I kind of looked around the room. There were probably 50 people. I tried to look for any guy between the age of 15 and 30 who looked kind of athletic. I walked up to a kid I never met. I said, "You've seen our band before?" He said, "Oh, yeah, I love it." I said, "Have you ever played the drums?" He said, "Well, no, not really." I said, "Well, you know, can you do this? You know who Gene Krupa is?" It kind of goes, da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Can you come up? Would you like to try playing drums? I was on the verge of having this guy come up, and he's kind of looking like, "I don't know if I want to play drums with you, man," you know. And then, of course, at 8:59, the guy skidded up in his yellow Pontiac. You know, "Rrr, rrr. Okay, John, I'm here. I'm ready to go," you know. But anyway, that was difficult. Shall I read a story now?
Yeah, no, that was great.
It's a very short story. Once in a while, I write about automobiles. I don't know why. Like a lot of kids our age, you know, I love cars. I guess I'll just read it. A little less talking, a little more rocking. I don't really remember. The story's kind of self-explanatory. I don't remember everything behind it. I was just kind of daydreaming. But this is called About the Monaco Grand Prix. I remember very clearly the first time I became aware of the Grand Prix of Monaco. My folks had a subscription to the National Geographic, and the April '63 issue had a feature on Monaco. There were some good color photos of the '62 Grand Prix included in the article, and the 11-year-old me was gazing at the photos with rapt attention, totally enthralled. And my dad sat down beside me and he said, "They raced right through the streets of Monte Carlo, son." That just really got me. That and the fact that it was so gray and rainy outside the living room window in April in Portland, Oregon, but so sun-drenched and palm tree festooned in Monaco. The next time I went to the public library, I checked out Robert Daly's 2 auto racing books, and I read them cover to cover. I reread the article a few times, then I reread most of the books, and this was really something. It just really got me. Just 24 months later, my dad, my older brother, and I think possibly my little brother Tony as well, were standing in the paddock of Pacific Raceways at Kent, Washington. The biggest names in national road racing were there, led by Jim Hall and the Chaparral team. A big surprise for everyone was the appearance of Phil Hill. He was driving a factory McLaren, and he gave the Chaparrals a real fight. I was never really a shy kid, and on Saturday afternoon, when everyone seemed pretty relaxed, I walked up to Phil and chatted with him a little bit and asked him if he would autograph an 8x10 photograph of him driving this car, which I'd bought that morning. I was a little starstruck, but not too starstruck, and he seemed to be a really, really nice guy. Things were really different in 1965. The paddock at this racetrack was grass, dirt, and gravel. Not counting the teams themselves, there couldn't have been more than 100 visitors in the entire place. Phil drove himself to the site of the race in a dusty, early 60s Peugeot. There was nothing even remotely resembling an entourage from my kid-like point of view. In the ensuing 52 years, I've not visited Monaco, but about 4 decades after my initial enthusiasm, I was able to visit our family village near Porto, Portugal. And once in '99 and once in 2001, there's a 2,000-year-old Roman bridge close to the family homestead that made the USA seem very, very far, far away. And in the course of one of the visits, I was able to spend some time walking around the streets of Estoril. Parts of Estoril and the grounds around the Estoril Casino in particular seemed to my untrained eye to really have not changed that much in a long time. This is maybe a bit like Monaco 40 years ago, was my thought. Formula One and the world itself has changed hugely, so hugely that I really haven't followed Grand Prix races closely for quite a long time. However, every spring without fail, I get a bit fixated on the Monaco Grand Prix. I just remember my dad saying, they drive right through the tunnel, going 120 miles an hour. memories, I guess. I love the name of your show. I love Coffee with Curmudgeons. To me, a curmudgeon is, I'll fess up right now. If I could just lock into between 1959 and 63, I'd be fine. Everything was better back then. I went to this race, this thing I'm talking about. Here's the book. Thanks, Doc.
Oh, yeah.
And, it was my little brother Tony, who was a friend of yours. My brother Tony somebody paid him to go to the Indy 500. He went there last year. He wrote about it. He had a press pass. How many people go there? 300,000 people. Yeah. This race I'm talking about here, I loved all this stuff when it wasn't like prime time or a big product, Phil Hill was the world champion 4 years before I met him. There was nobody around. If people had to work on the car, they'd lay on the ground with an end wrench, And I don't, one reason there was no logos, there was no transporters. I mean, there were tech guys. The tech guy had a stopwatch and a clipboard and a pencil. Phil, you went 121.5. Just that whole world to me is, I'm a huge Marshall McLuhan fan, and everything is just like one big product, And I'm not a huge Charles Bukowski fan, but he had many great quotes. I love the one, you don't go to the long line, you go to the short line. You're going to buy groceries at Albertsons, you're not going to the one with 20 people, you go to the one with 2 people. So I love anything small, anything where you can walk right up to the guy who's doing it. I'd go to the Indy 500, but not for the race, just for the fact. Yeah, it's an event. But
I don't know.
I like little crowds.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jason, but I mean, this is my curmudgeonly. Oh yeah. Like if I want to go do some live music, see some live music, I want to. Like,
you always want a hole in the wall. Always.
You want to be like right there.
Go to the Rose Garden to see anything.
No. It's like I said, I think it was David Lee Roth said, look, we back in the Van Halen days, we play in a place where they sell jujubes and play sporting, throw basketballs and stuff.
The medium really is the message and the massage. I mean, that's it,
I mean, it's just like, and it's partly the jazz thing, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily huge crowd or whatever, but these small venues, even like the Aladdin and stuff, which is a larger venue.
I agree,
but it's still something. Yeah, like 400, 500. It's still an intimate sort of thing.
Better yet, a nightclub that seats 45.
Well, these people they go out and it's like, I'm gonna go see the Fleetwood Mac reunion. The tickets are $235 a piece. And we're not talking tickets down on the floor. We're talking tickets
300 level.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like.
It's a product.
Yeah, I mean,
a long way from music.
That's fine if that's what you dig, but and I'm also like, you know what? How many? This curmudgeonly. I'm ranting now. I mean,
that's what curmudgeons do.
How many times do you want to go see Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones in 2018? God bless them, but to me, we've talked about this before.
Yeah. I try to never say anything bad about anyone. I think he's a very intelligent man. He's got a great
He's great, and that's fine, but I just...
You do have to wonder, when's he going to quit?
Yeah, I mean...
will he be doing it when he's 90?
Yeah, well...
Then he'd have quite an act. Yeah.
I mean, we make jokes about...
But it is kind of... It begets discussion, You got to... He used to sing, I'm a king bee all night long. I mean, the guy's almost 80. Is he a king bee? Can he buzz all night long? I don't know. But
I don't know if
that's why I like the crooners, and you're talking about Bennett and these guys, I don't know. I like that kind of music because it does age well.
Yes.
If you say something like Put on a Happy Face, if you say something like Another Season for Making Whoopee, that makes sense if you're 80 or if you're 20.
Yeah.
And, you guys love the movies. What did Bruno Kirby say in Spinal Tap?
Oh, yeah.
That's a passing fad. That's going to come and go. But Sinatra, his music's here to stay. Of course, they put the thing up, and stop talking to him. But, rock music for 85-year-old people seems funny. And
it does to me, too.
But who am I to judge? I really don't want to judge.
Well, I know.
But I am a curmudgeon.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I at 85, I don't know if Mick Jagger will be on the stage, but I think his cyborg clone probably will be.
Could be.
I mean, if you see like B.B. King or whatever, well, that's a different. I mean, the blues age well. I mean,
I guess.
The blues, but if it's like, I don't know. Look, like I said. Back when I was a kid, I went to see that band that sang I Hope I Die Before I Get Old. 20 years later, they were still playing that song.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, guys...
They'll probably have a reunion tour within a couple of years. And
yeah.
say it again.
The surviving members.
Yep.
I don't know. But that's what we do here.
Yep.
We do a lot of... We're on our best behavior today.
Yeah.
But we do complain. But anyway, we should...
we've been known to critique a little bit,
to curmudgeon. But we should, we should wrap it up.
Okay.
I think.
Thanks a lot, fellas.
Hey.
Old-fashioned, but that's a curmudgeon way, too. I want to thank you. Jason, put her there.
Hey,
really nice to meet you, man.
Yeah.
Doc, thanks so much.
Yeah.
I really do love Jack Carter. I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
I kind of like to be the Jack Carter of the show,
Sure. We
Maybe I'll even have something to say.
It's funny. There is an opening for a Jack Carter of the show. I don't know.
Well, hey, let it be me,
There you go.
I'm honored to be with you. Thanks, fellas, and goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. Thanks for doing the reading. Now, I wanted to, before we left here, I wanted to once again, if you want to get more, probably the easiest way is up on that little known website called Facebook.
Yep.
John Borroz Writer, where you're actually posting.
Like my page.
You can
follow me and all that stuff.
Like the page, and you can get that there and read more, and you can send a message, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
All those.
That's what everybody wants.
All those great things.
Nice feedback.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're kind of wrapped up. I mean, the big thing tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go find it's like a small place.
Yeah.
And go watch that game.
Hear some music. Good for you.
Well, no, I think we're gonna watch the game.
Oh,
the big game.
Yeah,
Blazers
maybe
versus...
go to a sports spot.
But not the big one.
No, a little one.
The little tiny neighborhood kind
Hurry
of
up,
thing.
Marvin, they've opened the bar.
Yeah, like a chia spot.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you got? Any final thoughts?
Yeah.
Any weekend kind of ideas, wishes, anything?
I retired 5 years ago. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't do much. That's what I like to do. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's exciting.
Man.
Never do anything on Friday except this. Never do anything on Monday. Saturday and Sunday are sacrosanct.
Gotcha.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I don't know. Maybe write a check on Tuesday, turn a library book in on Wednesday. I don't do much. I kind of like it that way.
Yeah, I'm just imagining our audience in the shawl going, I like that young boy.
Right.
I like his lifestyle.
Somewhere out there, there's legions of curmudgeons just nodding their head. Yeah,
that'd be my final word. I do play golf. I'm a member of a senior men's club on Wednesday morning. I'm about the youngest guy in the group. I really enjoy that.
Oh, Lord.
My age, it's nice to be the youngest guy. Most of the guys are in their 70s. I'm 66. So
there you go.
Forever young.
That's right.
Yeah.
George Burns, wish I was 18 again. Bob Dylan, forever young.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
I think
how
with
do we
that,
go out? Do you guys do music, or how do we end? Okay, great. Can we hear it in the studio? Or are you doing it right now?
Maybe or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're out. Watch the big game. Good luck to Blazers. And,
yeah, go Blazers.
And
Toodles,
Jason.
Okay.
I know.